Hi guys, and welcome back to another devlog about Skyland. It's been another 2 productive weeks, so let's dive right into it. I started off by finally implementing fall damage. Last time I only introduced the health bar, which had no real effect yet, so it was time to implement the other features as well. The screen gets grayed out with a red pulsating border when you're low on health or took damage. I also added some sound effects, which are basically some random noises of me modified in Audacity. And the last thing I had to implement was the respawning mechanic. It wasn't as simple as I thought in the beginning. First off, I had to make sure that the chunks around the coordinates 0 are always loaded. The next step was to make sure its physics are always loaded as well, because usually the physics are only loaded if there's a dynamic entity near it. And yeah, that was the tricky part of it. Now it simply takes a random position on the spawn check, shoots a ray down, checks where the ground is and lets the player spawn on top of it. So my world is split into 2 kind of entities, static ones that never move and dynamic ones which can move around the world. I haven't really tested dynamic entities yet, so I just did that with some boxes. I realized that when playing the game locally, the bullet physics engine just bugs out. Turns out you can't use 2 worlds in different threads. So whenever you start a local game now, you actually start a separate server process in the background. That's the only solution that really works. I also tried having a custom class loader to keep everything in one process, but that didn't fix the problem. So yeah, now the physics stuff and the dynamic entities are working. My first planned dynamic entity is a Kiwi, because it is rather simple to implement. It doesn't attack and only runs away when it gets attacked. While trying to get it to work, my game crashed a couple of times. Turns out it isn't a good idea to spawn a couple of thousand Kiwis around the world. But here you go, the finished Kiwi. It spawns in groups of up to 5, it panics when you punch it and it drops Kiwi meat and feathers. I also had to implement some performance improvements, like for example dynamic entities are only loaded in a range of 5 chunks, because running physics for too many objects would kill the performance. And you will probably play the game with multiple people on one server, which increases the load as well, so yeah, that's the limit for now. Honestly, I'm not an artist, so I'm kinda proud of the result. So here it is, a simple goblin. Obviously just standing around, so let's get right into implementing its behavior. Yep, that seems right. Just kidding, so here it is what its actual behavior is like. If it's close enough to you, it will get aggressive and will run towards you. After it hits you, it will run away like a goofy, and at a random point it will turn around and run at you again, and so on. The goblin has a wooden mace, which will be the next item that I add over the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure yet what it will drop, but probably some goblin meat, the wooden mace, and maybe some coins which you can melt down into gold ingots in the future. The last thing I worked on over the last 2 weeks were the campfires. Right now they spawn where goblins are, so quite simple. I created a volumetric shader for the fire, and lighting works the following. In engines like Unity or Unreal, you probably would use a point LED and enable shadows. But I'm using voxel data for the entire world, so it already contains lighting information. Basically its lighting is similar to the one of Minecraft. Why, you might ask? Because it allows me to have access to check if a voxel is lit or not, and based on that I can spawn different creatures or let specific foliage grow in the shadow like mushrooms. That's pretty neat, and obviously it doesn't hurt the performance at all, because it is literally just like a pre-baked light map performance wise. So yeah, that's it for this devlog. In the background is another world I generated which looks pretty neat. Over the next 2 weeks I will probably work on the water world, swimming animations and oceans biome, and hopefully some more stuff. If you like the devlog and you wanna support the development of Skyland, you can check out my game Polymole on Steam, which I made from scratch in Java. Link is in the description. And yeah, that's it. See ya!